we like to reminisce here. We love to go back down old memory lanes. So I'm actually going to take a walk to the decision desk and find out what's the deal with Michigan, what's the deal with Minnesota. It was so fun the last time, so we're just going to, but, you know, stakes are different this time.
Tell them I missed them.
We haven't called the election. We're actually just finding out why we haven't called the election, why we haven't called a couple of these key states. And it's a much shorter walk, thanks to our new studio. Here we are. Here they are. Here's all our guys. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Arne in Michigan, the man of the hour. How you doing?
Terrific, Megan. How are you?
We meet again.
Yes.
All right, so what's the deal? First of all, let's talk about Michigan. What's the deal with Michigan? Why can't you call it?
Right now, we're still waiting on some vote from Detroit and other places, and so even though clearly Trump has a lead, we're not prepared to call it yet.
Because Detroit is considered heavily Democratic.
Heavily Democratic area, yes.
So what do you need to see? What the turnout there was, or what?
We need to see the turnout, and most important, we need to understand what the absentee vote is. Because the absentee vote tends to be counted in bizarre ways, county by county, and so we're waiting to see what that vote is like before we can make a call in Michigan.
Any idea what time that will be? It's 1:10 in the morning. Any idea, like, seriously, do they tell you what the timing will be?
What they tell us is soon, and soon could mean anything.
That's not helpful.
I know.
All right, forget Michigan. Let's move on to Minnesota. 10 electoral votes there. That could get them much closer. What's the deal there?
Minnesota, we're also waiting for a lot of vote in the Twin Cities area, which also tends to be Democratic. There does seem to be, Hillary seems to have a slight lead in Minnesota, but it's a very tenuous lead. And when we look at the models, it looks like it's going to be a very close night there.
Wow, which again, I mean, most people were not predicting. Minnesota was not supposed to be.
Not at all.
It wasn't considered a toss-up, really.
Not at all.
Okay, Arizona. Why haven't we called that?
Arizona has begun counting vote in a slightly different way. There's a lot of vote that doesn't get counted on Election Day. So it's not clear we're going to be able to make a call in Arizona tonight, but we're going to try.
Pennsylvania. That's the mother lode. If Trump gets that, he's got it.
That's right. Pennsylvania also looks like it's ending up going to be a very close night in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't be surprised if we're not able to call Pennsylvania tonight.
If we're not able to call it at all.
Very possible, yes.
How about Maine's congressional district, second congressional district? Man, they've gotten so much airtime this election.
That's exactly right. This is the district in outstate Maine, the northern part of Maine. Right now, Trump has a lead in the raw vote, but I think it's only about 50% of the vote has been counted there. And so we don't have a model for Maine CD2, but we do have it. It looks like Trump may get that one electoral vote, but we're not ready to call that.
What am I missing? Which one am I forgetting?
The most interesting one you're missing is Alaska. And
really?
Precisely. Alaska has 3 electoral votes. Historically, Alaska has always gone Republican. Right now, we're looking at conflicting data from Alaska, and Alaska is another state that tends to count vote extremely slowly. And so that's another state that we could be hanging on for a couple of days.
How about New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes?
New Hampshire.
Joe Trippi is obsessed with New Hampshire. He wants me to ask.
As he should be. New Hampshire is a state that we could very easily also not be calling tonight.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Should we dock their pay? Is there like, all right, so let me ask you this. You guys they all sit back here, they crunch the numbers, they talk, they compare notes. What explains what we have seen tonight? Do you look at that? Do you look at any of the exit data, or is that all Dana Blanton? But can you help us understand what people misread?
That's a really good question. People are going to be poring over the data for months and possibly years to figure out what really happened. I think what basically happened was in the final polling, we saw that Clinton had roughly a 4-point lead in most of the polls. She was at about 48%, 49%. The question was, what happened to all the folks who were on what I call the movables, folks who said they were either for Johnson, Stein, or were purely undecided? And they ranged from 8 to 10 to 12%, depending on the poll you were looking at. And I think what happened was a lot of those people, they said they weren't for Hillary Clinton, and they weren't. And in the end, they decided to go for Trump. That's my hypothesis of what the polling, it was a misreading of the polling rather than a mistake of the polls.
I'm not going to hold you to this because I know you're crunching numbers in counties and raw vote and things like that now, but do you have a feel on the late deciders? Do you have a feel on whether it really was a late-breaking vote for Trump or whether this was baked in, these late deciders, these people you're talking about, you know, was it the last few days or when was it?
What we saw in the exit poll is that there was some late decided movement towards Trump, but I think what it is evidence that they were basically sort of decided, but they didn't want to say. And then in the end, they went for Trump.
So is what you're saying that the shy Trump voter really was out there?
I guess so. Yep.
It doesn't seem
Did I answer
possible that you can be a
properly?
shy Trump voter, right?
No,
Like, what we know of the Trump voters is they are not shy. They are not shy.
And that's the big difference between this general election and what we were seeing all year in the primaries. All year in the primaries, the Trump number from the polling was exactly the Trump number that he got in the primary. And all the undecided went away from Trump. This time we're seeing that a lot of that undecided, in fact, wound up being a Trump vote.
All right, last question. What of the states that are still out there?
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah, go.
The other thing to note is that right now Clinton is ahead in the popular vote, and that was something actually a lot of analysts understood, that in fact a Democratic lead of 3 or 4% translated into an electoral college photo finish, which is what we're seeing right now, that basically Democrats run up the score in states like California, New York, Illinois, and roughly 3% of the vote is wasted by Democrats in those states. That's just the way the Continental Congress decided it, and it's wasted in those states. And so even though you might have a 3% lead in the popular vote, that could translate into an electoral college photo finish.
All right, so I actually have 2 more questions. Number 1 is, does she have any chance left?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, all right, I had to try. Number 2 is, what is the state you guys think you're most likely to call next? I realize you don't know. Which one are we most likely to get next?
We're looking at a number of states that we could possibly call very quick.
Does it begin with an M?
You're a very good interviewer.
You're not going to tell me?
No, not yet.
Arnon, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you guys. You guys are unsung heroes here at Fox News and all the work you do. You too, Kath. All of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Honored to work with these guys.